Hello, everyone. We'll wait another minute or two until everyone arrive and enter. In the meantime, I'll show you something nice on ChatGPT. Every time we start these kind of webinars, I have nothing to say. It's not that I have nothing to say. I just, I'm perplexed at what I should be saying. And, the beauty of ChatGPT is the fact that, it solves writer's blocks. And this is something that I would show you, during this webinar. So without further ado, I'll start and then I'll introduce myself a little more. So, so that's one thing. Okay. So let's assume for a hot second that I have nothing to say, or I have no idea what I want to say. So let's ask GPT to write something, a short onboarding message for everyone to see. Suppose it's a little bit at capacity right now. So as you can see, it says hello to everyone. And explains what you can possibly do with ChatGPT in your business. And this is exactly what we're going to talk about today. We'll give you some, theoretical background, some background about us, about ChatGPT, about other tools such as Midjourney, Dolly, Whisper, and others, including, products that are based on ChatGPT. And then we'll explain a little bit about how we work with this and what you can do today in your business to make everything a lot more meaningful, more efficient, and make your work a lot more effective in the long run. My partner Nadav will be writing stuff in the chat room, including all relevant links, so you can watch this presentation live with us, and more information about us, and naturally the cheat sheet which we created for you that with relevant prompts. Prompts are the textual messages that you can give to ChatGPT, Midjourney, Dolly, Whisper, and others for it to pretty much do whatever action you wish it to do. Okay, so let's start. So we already did the onboarding. So the name of this webinar is Harnessing ChatGPT for Success. And we're going to talk about ChatGPT mostly because this is the market maker of artificial intelligence these days. But we'll also be talking about other tools. So let me give you a little background here. I'm going to start with a narrative. So imagine for yourselves November 30th. And it wasn't as beautiful as November Rain by Guns N' Roses, but it was still a very nice evening in general. A company, which was pretty much obscure up until that point, called OpenAI, released an artificial intelligence tool called ChatGPT. Now, the tool did exist about a year and a half prior to innovators, but it was like in a closed circuit of beta testers and was only available to coders. But then there was a paradigm shift. By November 30th, it was available to the general public. And Nadav and I are pretty much the tech enthusiasts, and we started using it. First, we said, okay, this is interesting. And then we started moving a lot of our menial work to ChatGPT. That is the creation of content, the creation of our newsletters, summarizing information from articles, pretty much everything. About a week afterwards, we're talking about, what was it, like December 5th or something along those lines? We realized that we were ahead of the curve in one of the greatest revolutions in technology. And this is something that comes about maybe once in 20, 30 years. And this is why we believe and what we see everywhere that this changes everything. And this is exactly what we want to show. So as mentioned, Nadav will be sharing information during this presentation. And you can immediately go to the cheat sheet with all relevant prompts, and you can read a lot more information about ChatGPT, how to use it, where to use it, relevant prompts that you can use immediately in your work. And it doesn't matter in which field you work. ChatGPT is relevant for anyone who uses a computer on a daily basis. You also have a QR code, which you can scan, and it sends you again to the cheat sheet. So I would like to get acquainted with you people. So anyone here in sales or marketing?
Yes, following the chat, we have business consultants, we have real estate, we have pharmaceuticals, transportation, advisory, engineering and cost engineering. A lot of different fields here today.
Okay, well, wonderful. If any of you wishes to, talk, now's the time. We really want this to be an interactive kind of webinar and not just, a lecture. So if anyone wants to ask a question, just speak up. We're right here to answer any questions you may have. Okay, let's continue. So, a tad about us. First of all, I am an alumnus of the International MBA here at Bar-Ilan. I finished last August. I bring 15 years of business development experience in about 5 continents, including the US, UK, within the European Union, India, China, South Africa, and many other areas. I fathered 2 beautiful girls. One of them is called May, the other one is called Emmy, and I'm a partner here at Frameworks. Frameworks is a business development agency, and I will explain a little more. And I've helped more than 150 companies building their sales, marketing, and business development in general. My partner in Nadav is father of Elon. He's also a partner here at Frameworks. He's a go-to-market expert and signed on deals of tens of millions of dollars for relevant companies. And he brings 15 years of building companies experience. And again, I would like to thank Neta from the International Business School for setting this up. So Neta, if you want, say hello, right here. Okay, let us continue. So, some of the things that we can do with ChatGPT are very, very simple. For example, we can create ad copies. So in this particular example, write a series of marketing ads for Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and also include a micro copy as well. Now, I'm guessing some of you, Nadav, you said some of the attendees work in marketing.
Sorry?
Some of the attendees work in marketing, correct?
Right.
Okay, so imagine for yourselves how long it would take you to write 3 ads plus micro copy for each one. And you may need to reiterate it, find relevant hashtags and whatever. This could take an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. This took no more than 5 minutes. And this is the beauty of it. Again, it's very simplified and you may need to check if it's relevant for you, if it's even accurate, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you save on a lot of time, which you can then reuse and repurpose for whatever else you need to do, such as run the ads or whatever. But we'll show you some things that are a lot more intricate than just ad copies in a moment. Let's talk about the current situation. And when we talk about technology adoption, this is relevant for artificial intelligence, but this is also relevant for anything else. So the adopters versus protesters. With any technological adoption in the world is pretty much divided. The adopters are the ones that say that artificial intelligence would save up precious time. As I said, can create the ad copies in 5 minutes, 15 minutes instead of an hour or two. Second, the artificial intelligence in general improves capabilities. Why? Because I can hone my skills and I can move my menial work to something else, and I can focus on what I know best. For example, if I'm a lawyer or if I'm an accountant and I need to use Facebook or LinkedIn to market myself and promote myself, I don't really have time for that. I would rather much focus on my actual work, which is, legal advice or, finance and accounting and whatnot, and not deal with marketing. So ChatGPT can perfectly help me in this respect. Last but not least, the system allows me to solve problems, and I'll show how you can do decision making with artificial intelligence. Up until this point, we had to decide everything by ourselves, look at many reports, and sometimes we don't have anything meaningful to do with that. But in this particular case, artificial intelligence can do the decision making for us. We'll need to guide it, of course, but again, it can do the decision making for us. The protesters, on the other hand, believe that artificial intelligence may hinder their productivity. What does that mean? If I send all my marketing material to ChatGPT and I don't do it myself, then I will probably not be able to hone my skills. I mean, I just become, a victim of my own creation in this respect. Or I believe that if I give this to my employees, they'll become slackers. That is, they'll do the exact same thing. They won't be productive. They won't be efficient. They're not going to be effective with the work. They're just going to do the bare minimum. And the last but not least, and many people say that the system will replace me. Why? Because there are companies that did that, like BuzzFeed, for example, and others. But will artificial intelligence really replace people? No. People who use artificial intelligence will replace people who don't use artificial intelligence. And this is exactly what's going on today. Why not? What's so special about this, and why is artificial intelligence on the rise? First of all, we're in the downturn market. There is a recession. Money is expensive. It's very hard to borrow. So money is diverted to other fields. There's a labor shortage. I mean, we see that with layoffs in big tech and even smaller companies. So, but companies still need to sell, they still need to market their products, they still need to make their profits. So what do? They augment their teams with artificial intelligence, and this is already happening. Communications is much easier with machines. What does that mean? For example, and you see this mostly with Generation Z, excuse me, yes, so this is a boomer moment, but even though I'm not a boomer, but you see many Generation Z that use WhatsApp or whatever, and they don't talk to each other. They have no idea if the person on the other end is really a person. Could be a chatbot as far as they're concerned, because text cannot really convey feelings. So it's much easier to communicate with a machine than with a person in this respect. And the last but not least, artificial intelligence is now open for public use. Up until 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 9 months ago, the only people that actually used artificial intelligence were technical people. People who are computer scientists or engineers or whatnot. Today, everyone can use this, from the school, from the junior high school kid to the teacher to a professor to the easier, the simplest of workers. Everyone can use artificial intelligence, and that is the beauty of it. What can artificial intelligence do? For example, Firmenich boosted creativity with artificial intelligence to launch the world's first algorithm-produced flavor. If any one of you watched Iron Man 2, where Tony Stark creates an element out of nothing, this is exactly what artificial intelligence can do, create something that didn't exist prior. Not to mention that in 2012, investments in artificial intelligence were roughly 3% of all venture capital investments. But today it's more than 30%. So for you to understand the magnitude of it all. Okay, that's interesting. But why is artificial intelligence on a growth spurt? Oh, by the way, all of these beautiful creatives you see, all the visuals were created with artificial intelligence. I'm no graphic designer, Nadav isn't a graphic designer either. I can't even paint, for the life of me. So these were created with artificial intelligence. This specifically was made with Midjourney. So why is artificial intelligence on a growth spurt? Simple. Simplifies our lives, and it's super easy to use. It's a decision-making machine. It creates skill sets that weren't accessible to everyone. I'm no coder. Nadav isn't a coder either, but we can create products without knowing a single string of code. We don't even understand the logic behind it, but we can use artificial intelligence for it. And vice versa. If you're a technical person and you don't know anything about marketing or sales, artificial intelligence can actually help you in this respect. And it allows for the creation of meaningful and target-oriented content. You can tell the system to act as something, as a philosopher, as a copywriter, as a salesman, as the CEO of a company, as an accountant, whatever you wish it to do, it can act as something. So this takes us back to conventional wisdom. And this is exactly what artificial intelligence is. It's consequential to conventional wisdom. And millions of people use conventional wisdom on a daily basis. Again, if you want, this is the cheat sheet, and you can use the QR code for this, or, Nadav, I think, already sent it through, the chat window a couple of times. And you can see all relevant prompts here. Yes, please.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
How confident are you using ChatGPT in, let's say, in a real business or real life environment, provided that it's not quite very accurate at this moment?
Okay, that's a great question. We moved roughly 80% of our manual work to ChatGPT and other tools. This is how confident we are of using artificial intelligence. Yes, you would still need to check if it's relevant. You may need to ask it to reiterate a couple of times, change the tone for it to, to copy the way you write stuff. But at the end of the day, you get better percentages of accuracy. I'd say that it's accurate at least 90 to 95% of the time. And this is how confident we are of using artificial intelligence, and specifically ChatGPT, Midjourney, and others.
Okay, but let me maybe just
yes,
pinpoint what I was aiming for.
Okay, please.
I agree that when you do marketing or you want to write about a general subject, it's a great tool, and I have no. But if we are, because yesterday I read an article. Even about, a simple example. It was asked, what is the distance between Chicago and Tokyo? And it gave a wrong answer, for example. Okay. And so if let's say I'm looking at, I don't know, I'm looking at a business case that I want to
Yes.
to discover. Maybe I'm getting the wrong data points, or maybe I'm not getting a very accurate data points. So how can I, check myself, or does it, maybe it's giving me more work to do and not less work to do?
Okay, that's a great question, and that's completely understandable. Yes, it has at times give the wrong information. Sometimes I could ask it to summarize an article and summarizes something completely different. Having said that, as mentioned, you can't replace a person with artificial intelligence, but a person using artificial intelligence can replace someone who's not using artificial intelligence. That is, I'm no coder, okay? I have no idea if what I'm coding is correct. But if I'll give a string of code to a coder afterwards, the coder could make it a lot more meaningful. That is the same case when you're looking for data points, specific data points. If you have no idea what you're looking for and you have no idea how to check it, then it doesn't matter if you'll use ChatGPT or you'll do this with Excel or you'll do this with a calculator. At the end of the day, the data points themselves are incorrect. Whether artificial intelligence have given it to you or whether you read it on Google or on Facebook. And many people use conventional wisdom going to Facebook and going to Google and getting all kinds of information and contradicting information with wrong data sets. The difference is that the more people who use ChatGPT on a daily basis, the more likely you are to get the correct data points. So if intelligent people, like sophisticated people use ChatGPT, it will eventually learn and become more accurate. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so let's focus a little about what we're going to talk about today. So first of all, what is artificial intelligence? Why now? A little bit about OpenAI, the company that created it, and ChatGPT. We're going to talk about Harvey, which is legal artificial intelligence, a lot more accurate than regular ChatGPT when it comes to legal matters. How we use it here at Frameworks, relevant use cases in different fields, super intelligence, and we're going to do some Q&A at the end if time permits us. So artificial intelligence is pretty much the ability of a machine or a computer to mimic a person in terms of human intelligence. That is natural language, to visualize things, and to make decisions as a person. Artificial intelligence is pretty much everywhere in this day and age. First of all, it's in your antivirus. Your antivirus decides for itself what to prioritize, what to clean, what to get rid of. In your car, if you're about to swerve, God forbid, into a lamppost, the car already understands that and swerves you back. In your smartphone, autocorrect and autofill are artificial intelligence. The reply to someone or what you're going to write. Sometimes it's incorrect, but for the most part, it is correct. Or you can even see it in workspaces. It can decide that on the 24th floor, let's keep the AC on, and everywhere else, let's turn it off because there's no one there. But it's not just based on sensors, but based on daily active behavior. And it just understands what happens at specific times of day. So you can see this in workspaces and all kinds of green buildings and whatnot around the globe. Why now? What's so special? So let's talk about this. We're talking about a system that came about November 30th, less than 3 months ago, and had 100 million users within 2 months. Can anyone tell me how long it took TikTok to reach 100 million users? Anyone?
Yeah, I actually saw it. I don't remember by that, but it took them a few months if I'm not wrong. Or yeah, or 1 year.
Almost a year, 9 months. 9 months it took TikTok to reach 100 million users. And it took ChatGPT exactly 2 months. The expected revenue by end of 2024 is $1 billion. We're not talking about OpenAI, the company. We're talking about ChatGPT alone, $1 billion. Microsoft already invested $1 billion in the company with the option of investing an extra $10 billion for 49% stake in the company. And ChatGPT in general is already being integrated into Bing. In some jurisdictions, you can already use it. It's called Bing AI. And you can chat with it and ask it to make like a 3-course dinner for you, or choose which vacuum cleaner you wish to use, whatever. It's perfect for e-commerce, it's perfect for culinary reasons, everything, and naturally other things. And it's also being integrated into mobile apps, Skype, which is also part of the Microsoft suite. And it's going to be implemented in Excel and Word. Jensen Huang, who's the CEO of NVIDIA, said about ChatGPT's impact that this was the iPhone moment of artificial intelligence. Now, think about that statement for a second. Smartphones existed about 5 to 7 years to the general public, long before there was even an iPhone. There was the BlackBerry, there was something by Motorola, there was something by Nokia, but Apple's iPhone changed the paradigm completely. And this is exactly what ChatGPT did to artificial intelligence. And this is why everyone is on board. And some of you are already the early adopters, and some of you are the early majority using it. Everyone who remembers to start using this in 6 months or in a year or a year and a half will be behind everyone else, behind of the curve, a laggard. And that's not good, especially when it comes to artificial intelligence and the new world order in which we're already in. OpenAI and ChatGPT. Okay, so OpenAI was created by many relevant entrepreneurs. One of them is Sam Altman, who's the CEO of the company, Mira Murati, who's the chief technology officer of the company, Elon Musk, Reid Hoffman from LinkedIn, and many other entrepreneurs created OpenAI. So OpenAI as a company has other options other than ChatGPT. There's DALL-E, which, for example, this visual was created by it. The prompt was, show me a cat riding a skateboard on Times Square. That's the prompt, easy peasy. And it took like, what was it? Like 2 minutes to create this. Another tool is called Whisper. Whisper listens to what you say and can predict what you're going to say. It can mimic your voice. You can create whole speeches with this, and this is perfect for deepfake, not necessarily for malicious reasons, but could be used for whatever reasons you wish it to use. And ChatGPT, which is the hot commodity right now, that you write something, which is called a prompt, textualizes it, and gives you the relevant answer. Again, you'll need to check how relevant it is for you, but it would still give you something accurate most of the time. Let's talk about Harvey artificial intelligence. So Harvey is based on OpenAI's GPT-3. GPT-3 is the protocol itself. That's the engine behind this. And this is made for lawyers by lawyers. Okay? So the main options that you can do with this is, again, it allows for the creation of meaningful contracts, mostly for mergers and acquisitions and others. But imagine something a lot more intricate than just writing a contract. Imagine first, you don't need a lawyer to draft a contract. You don't need a lawyer to read a contract. You don't even need a lawyer to go to court for you. Courthouses could be based solely on artificial intelligence. Nobody goes to court. Nobody needs to pay ridiculous fees for whatever. Any litigation could be done with artificial intelligence. Connect some kind of deep fake with your own voice, with an avatar of a lawyer. That's the future. And this is why we know why it's called Harvey. Some people say that it's considered a shadow lawyer, which is a wink at Harvey the rabbit from the movie and the book. But we all know that it means Harvey Specter from Suits. Why? Because that's the shark lawyer and that's what everybody wants. The company is backed by OpenAI's very own startup fund. So OpenAI has their own startup fund, 100 million assets under management. It has invested in 9 other companies, each one in different fields. But what is the beauty of this all? This means that it can also in turn influence ChatGPT's very own legal system, like the legal information in it, make it a lot more meaningful, relevant, significant, and naturally accurate. And it can also make Microsoft even more relevant on this stage because Microsoft is going to have 49% of OpenAI, ergo, it would also have some kind of stake potentially in those startups. Another thing that I'm going to show, I'm no coder, but if anyone here deals with data analysis, they can create an SQL query and put it in the system. Of course, it is important to understand the SQL prompt in this respect, to make sure that it's meaningful, to make sure that it's accurate. Otherwise, we're going to get a data point which is not relevant, as Yaron mentioned before. So in this respect, I wrote, okay, find out how many users do we have in the Philippines, which constitutes 55% of our user base on an iOS-based app, game, whatever. And this is the query. This took less than 5 minutes to create. And I don't even know how to do SQL. But if I'll run this by someone that understands SQL, they might say that it's significant enough to make sense, or they might need to fix it a little bit, but no need to write it anymore. And that's the beauty of it. We augment a team member that doesn't exist. And this is exactly where we're at right now. So how do we use this frameworks? First of all, we do, I'd say, more than 90% of our content writing using ChatGPT. That is for social media, our very own newsletters, on our blog, everywhere. We don't even answer people really. We use all kinds of tools that generate a response on LinkedIn and other places. I know, yes, it's not nice, but come on, don't judge me, I'm only human. We summarize articles with this, yes, and we need to always check if what's written makes sense. If you want to make sure that what's written makes sense, don't let it copy stuff directly from a link. Just copy paste the whole text and ask it to summarize it. Then you'll have no mistakes whatsoever. We do work plans with this. We create our very own work ants with this. Very easy. No need to even think about it. Writer's blocks. For example, I had no idea what to tell you guys when I onboarded you for this webinar. With this, I was able to. So this is the beauty of it. And API-based products. We can create API-based products. We can show you how to create API-based products. Or in this respect, we're just going to show you how to create rudimentary products with this that could augment your work in general, whatever it is that you're doing. Okay, let's talk about use cases, a lot more intricate use cases that you can use today. So I'm going to show you how to create your very own compound annual growth rate calculator. Super relevant for people in sales, marketing, R&D. Going to show your product management metrics calculator, how to do Excel and decision making with ChatGPT, and a very interesting Chrome extension. There are others, but this one is a lot more significant. So let's delve in. By the way, this beautiful computer again was created with Midjourney. I think it took us what, like one iteration, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Something incredibly amazing. So let's create our very own compound annual growth calculator to make sure that our investment is fruitful. Okay, we usually do this how? We find relevant data, we pull it into our computer, we put this in Excel. We might need to use more than one software at a time. We might need to pull data from Facebook, pull data from Statista, pull data from Excel. And it might take us like 50 minutes just to find the relevant data points before we even start calculating. Okay, so let's look at the prompt.
Can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
It's super important. Hey, it's not it's super important when you look at how we build the prompts. Building the prompts takes a lot of time, but then the output takes minutes. And then of course we verify, but it's unbelievable how we are able to not know any code, for instance, HTML here, and through text. Think about how revolutionary this is. Through text, I generate code, and this will be something that goes along all these examples.
Okay, thank you, Nadav. So in this particular case, the prompt is create a tool using HTML, CSS to calculate compound annual growth rate. Put both codes in a single page and change the font family to Helvetica. Also add a unicorn at the bottom of the page. I said, okay, let's play around with this. I then downloaded software called Visual Code Studio that can debug and run the code for me and show me what it looks like. But it didn't look good the first time around. It was like all over the place. It didn't make sense, and the colors didn't make sense. So I said, okay, let's reiterate and make it more meaningful. So again, show me the actual answer, because it didn't show me an answer when I clicked calculate CAGR. Show me the actual percentage. Also change the color of the button to hex number, whichever. It was a specific color, and add all rights reserved to Frameworks 2023 at the bottom of the page, and remove the unicorn picture because it didn't show me any unicorn. So I needed to explain to it what I actually wanted, and this is exactly what Yaron said, that sometimes it's inaccurate, or it doesn't give me the right answer, or it doesn't understand what I mean. So I might need to reiterate a couple of times. So I was getting frustrated with it because it didn't give me the answer. So I actually asked it, do you know the formula of compound annual growth rate? Answer with the tick symbol if you do. Okay, what is it? Okay, and then I asked it, show me that in the code. So when I finally got it, I ran it through Visual Code Studio again, debugged it, and presto. This is my very own compound annual growth calculator. I give the initial value, I give the final value, I give the number of years, and then it gives me the relevant compound annual growth rate. Okay, that's interesting. Let's see something a lot more intricate. Now, some of you might be working in product management, and you know that there are 10 significant metrics and KPIs in product management. Things from customer acquisition cost to DAUs and MAUs, of course, customer churn rate, the net promoter score, everything that supports the decision to continue producing things for the product or deciding to kill it. Let's see how it's done. I did it, but it showed me something completely wrong. And this is what Yaron said. What do we do if it gives us the wrong answer? How can I know what the customer acquisition cost is if I don't have it? So I had to recheck the code. So I went back to ChatGPT and asked it to calculate it properly for me. Give me the right part of code string to put into Visual Code Studio. I found the relevant piece of string in Visual Code Studio, and I replaced it, debugged it, and relaunched it. And this is what it looks like. Again, it doesn't look amazing, but everything here was created by someone that doesn't know code. It took me roughly 25 minutes to create this. Now imagine if I didn't have artificial intelligence, how long it would have taken me to do this. And these are rudimentary products that you can create internally in your company without looking for hundreds of relevant data points, without the need of paying some extra money on licensing for this product or the next. You might be able to create your very own CRM or your very own ERP, or maybe your own BI system, or whatever that supports you and is not limited by whatever the company which created it decided to do to limit it in general. And last but not least here is Excel and decision making. Now, in this particular case, I wanted to decide which of my competitors I wish to buy. Depending on the information I feed ChatGPT, the answer might change. So let's look at buying a company. The prompt is a doozy here, but you only need to do this once, and then you have the information. Naturally, you need to understand how mergers and acquisitions work accounting-wise. So I have I have 3 competitors. Each one has a free cash flow of X with a free cash flow multiple of whatever, or an enterprise value multiple of whatever. Each competitor also has a debt of whatever. Answer the following question. Which of these competitors would be the cheapest for us to acquire and using which multiple? Second question would be, why should we acquire it? Before I continue, does anyone have any questions? Anyone? Don't be shy. Okay. Then I'll show you in an Excel table what it looks like. So I looked at it and it told me, okay, competitor 2 is the perfect candidate to be bought. It's the cheapest one. That's fantastic. But what if one of the competitors could have given me a competitive advantage to gain 5% more market share? Well, the other 2 can only give me 1%, 2%, and 1.5%. Would the answer change in this comparison? Should I even buy competitor 2? Show this in an Excel table. The system told me buy competitor 3, but it also told me before you do, you need to check if there's more information which you don't know before you buy this. This is very similar to Scenario Manager in Excel. Both Scenario Manager and its very own sensitivity analysis doesn't give us qualitative data. It only gives us quantitative data. So if I write that this one gives me competitive advantage, I can't do this in Excel at all. So my decision-making capabilities when it comes to Excel, especially if I'm not 100% sure about the formulas, are insignificant, and I can't decide which competitor to buy. This helps me a lot more. And this is something that you can use today in your work because the systems today are limited, but artificial intelligence is only growing exponentially. And this is the beauty of it. Last one is a Chrome extension called Sheet AI. Sheet AI is based on OpenAI's very own GPT-3. It derives the data via an API. But what is the beauty of this? Let's assume that I have no idea which formula to use to find information within a messy address data. I have 249 Commonwealth Avenue, apartment 9, Boston, Massachusetts, 02116. That's wonderful. Let's assume I have 100 addresses like this, 500, 1500. All I want to know is what state is this address in? So I give a textual request and it transforms it into an Excel formula. Now, imagine what it would be like if you need to clean an email list from irrelevant characters or phone numbers that don't make sense, or you need any kind of other intricate data that will take you hours to do this yourselves, or you'll need to hire someone that understands Excel better than you. Imagine if you could do this to yourselves. And this is the beauty of using such a Chrome extension. Naturally, there are other Chrome extensions, but good enough. Let's talk about something entirely different. Superintelligence. Superintelligence is what happens when machines become smarter than all of mankind. What does that mean? The moment in which a person is indistinguishable from a machine and vice versa. But it's not necessarily a bad thing because we're already there. What does it mean? It means, for example, if I'm a customer and I call a company and I'm talking to someone and I'm asking, are you human or are you a bot? I get an answer, I'm a bot. Wait, that's fantastic. Why is it fantastic? Because the bot understands everything, knows all relevant data, doesn't need to ask for permission to give me a discount. It already has all information needed. That means that I can decide to buy something right now instead of thinking about it a day or two or a week or month or year or whatever. And it takes me a very long time to create my very own decision tree of why should I buy this in comparison with that. We as a company can enjoy this because each and every sales cycle is being reduced by days, weeks, months, years even. Sometimes a sales cycle could take like 6 months or 9 months or whatever. With artificial intelligence, we can actually reduce it completely. And that's the beauty of it. Now, does anyone have any questions? This is the Q&A session. Please, any questions you may have. Without any questions in the chat room, anything?
Let's see. I don't, not in the chat. We do have on the link questions of where do you think the opportunities lie?
Okay, the opportunities when it comes to artificial intelligence are everywhere. For example, Romania is now using the very own artificial intelligence advisor for a politician. And the Financial Times now implemented the very own editor, who's an artificial intelligence bot. And this is the first time in journalism's history that artificial intelligence is being used in such a capacity of an editor. So the opportunities are endless. We can see this within the metaverse. And we also see that artificial intelligence is responsible for the boosting of chip making, computer chip making in general, which was on the decline up until 2 months ago. But because of artificial intelligence, about 20% of the future revenue by 2025 of chip making would be artificial intelligence oriented, or in this respect, $20 billion out of $100 billion market in terms of revenue. This is already being used by doctors to write diagnosis. So imagine that an ER could, pretty much send people back home in minutes instead of hours. How much time doctors could, save, and then save more lives in the process, because you have less people, occupying their beds. These are just some of the things that you can do with artificial intelligence. Any other questions anyone might have?
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe it's a big subject, not necessarily to give a full answer, but just how do you see it, or your thoughts? Looking at the risks of using ChatGPT, especially where it comes to fake news, false information, things that he's going to a database that is online, that anybody can say what he wants, and for him it's like the actual truth, and you can invent something that is totally wrong, and you will still use it.
That's a great question, Yoel. So first of all, Mira Murati, who is the Chief Technology Officer of OpenAI, was asked, what does she think needs to be done when it comes to fake news, deep fake, and people using, ChatGPT for malice? So she said that she's an advocate like other companies that are creating artificial intelligence tools, anything from Qualcomm to NVIDIA to Meta to Amazon, everyone that is pretty much invested in artificial intelligence this day and age. And she said that the more we put emphasis on the betterment of mankind using artificial intelligence, the more likely we are to use artificial intelligence for good reasons and not bad reasons. Yes, there is the risk of fake news, and should even big tech be responsible for, pretty much overseeing media consumption? But big tech is already overseeing media consumption. People give their information willingly to Apple, to Google, to Microsoft, to Meta, to everyone. So people do this willingly anyhow. Having said that, artificial intelligence has a lot more power, because people might think that they're talking to a real person, especially when it comes to deepfake. But there is a way to overcome. There are going to open, the very own trust where they talk about this, and this will be regulated completely by policymakers as well from the government. Any other questions by any chance? Yes, Benny.
As a consumer or someone that's using ChatGPT and AI in general, how and I mean, as far as like paranoia in terms of sharing sensitive data and it becoming available to actors that you don't, want to have that data, just because it's proprietary, or you're basing some kind of development on that information. How real is that threat?
That's a good question. And I'll ask you this. How can you really be sure about anything these days, this day and age? For example, companies use their very own vault using Google Drive. And they put all their sensitive data, including their IP, on Google Drive. Or they use something by Amazon, or they use something by Facebook, or they use something by something. Every day in which we use technology, we give our information, our data, our very own proprietary information willingly to someone, and we have no idea who the players are. In terms of artificial intelligence, could this be reused by OpenAI? Yes, but this could be said about anything. People talk about using Apple, iPhone, for example, because it gives better security. But if I may, that's nonsense, because Apple uses that data. There's nothing which is more secure using Apple in this respect, especially if you use iCloud. You have no idea who is exposed to that information. So yes, there is a risk of using artificial intelligence, but in the information age, this is a calculated risk that you as a consumer must take anyhow, because it's being implemented anyway.
Is there a threat, though, that information can somehow become part of the larger information? So in other words, if you start going and poking deep into a certain area of research, for example, and you have and you start asking, querying for, and going deeper and deeper and deeper, and so, the data points are scattered, and you're creating connections for the data.
Yes.
So, that, I guess, that, it almost seems like it could become a point with that information if it gets to into the hands of people who have the resources and are interested in that information, and somehow are able to access that information in their queries.
Okay, let's assume for a hot second that this was possible. How would they know who this information belongs to? If you don't use your name and you use a specific data set, even if I don't use the name frameworks, I have a company that does this and does that. Okay. At the end of the day, heuristically wise or research wise, you could derive that information anyhow. I'm just asking, how exactly would your information end up in the wrong hands? If there are 100 million people who use ChatGPT in January, how exactly would they know who Benny is?
It's not a matter of knowing who Benny is, but somehow creating connections that were otherwise unconnected, and then you bring it into, let's call it the consciousness, and somehow, because it is, I guess, from my understanding of AI, it kind of creates a collective consciousness, and that consciousness is what animates and evolves over time.
True, but this isn't a Skynet moment. You shouldn't be worried that the Terminator will be coming for you in 15 years or something along those lines. Could this be used by malicious people? Maybe, but you can say that about almost anything you do online. One option is to get off the grid completely, but artificial intelligence is being used everywhere. It's already in Bing and it's already in Google. So how exactly would you be able to divert completely from using artificial intelligence anyhow? There isn't really an option. You just need to be careful like everywhere else. And, that's pretty much it. There's a risk, but it's a calculated risk. And this is why policymakers have, advocated for this to happen, that someone actually regulates artificial intelligence, especially ChatGPT. Okay.
Great, thank you.
My pleasure. So I think we're pretty much finished here tonight. I'd like to thank Neta and Amit again for setting this up. And if you have any questions for us, Nadav sent all information about frameworks. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us about this. So thank you everyone for coming in tonight, this afternoon, this morning, depending where you are in the world.
Thank you.
תודה רבה, Avishay, תודה רבה. Thank you so much.
A great pleasure. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
Thank
great
you.
evening.
Thank you, everyone.